Welcome to Unit 8, Section 2, Lesson 1, Video 1, the Coordinate Grid. Earlier this year, and also in previous grades, you learned how to plot points with whole number coordinates on a grid, such as the one shown here. Remember that a grid like this is made from two intersecting axes, a horizontal axis and a vertical axis. The horizontal axis is sometimes called the x-axis, and the vertical axis is sometimes called the y-axis. If point A is located here, what are the coordinates? Remember that coordinates are the numbers in an ordered pair that locate a point on the grid. To find out the coordinates, start at 0. We always move in the horizontal direction first, then the vertical direction. To get to A, we would go 2 units right and then 3 units up. So the coordinates of point A are 2 and 3. The coordinates 2, 3 are called an ordered pair. A helpful tip to remember which direction comes first is that X comes before Y in the alphabet, so we always move in the X direction before we move in the Y direction. What are the coordinates of point B? First, start at 0, go 4 units to the right, then go 2 units up. The coordinates of B are 4, 2. What are the coordinates of point C? This time, when we start at 0, we notice that we don't need to move right, so the first coordinate is 0. Next, we move 1 unit up, so the coordinates of point C are 0, 1. Finally, what are the coordinates of point D? Starting at 0, we would need to move 3 units right, but 0 units up. So the coordinates of point D are 3 and 0. In grade 7, instead of just plotting points with whole numbers, we're going to extend the axes, and axes is just plural for axis, to include integers, and integers are just positive and negative whole numbers. The new grid is called a coordinate grid. Just like in the previous slide, the horizontal axis is called the x-axis, and the vertical axis is called the y-axis. The coordinate grid was developed by René Descartes way back in the 17th century. Sometimes the grid is called the Cartesian plane in his honor. The coordinate grid is divided into 4 sections called quadrants. Quadrant 1 is located here. The quadrants are numbered in a counterclockwise direction, so quadrant 2 is here. This is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. Where the two axes intersect is called the origin. It has coordinates 0, 0. To determine the coordinates of a point, we always start at the origin. What are the coordinates of point A? Remember, X comes before Y in the alphabet, so we move in the X direction first. To get to point A, start at the origin and move 2 units right and 4 units up. The coordinates of A are 2 and 4. And we would call that pair of coordinates an ordered pair. What are the coordinates of point B? Start at the origin and move 3 units left, which is negative 3, and then 1 unit up. The coordinates of point B are negative 3 and 1. To determine the coordinates of point C, start at the origin, move 1 unit to the left, and 2 units down. The coordinates of point C are negative 1, negative 2. As we determine the coordinates of a point, remember, right or up is a positive coordinate, and left or down is a negative coordinate. What are the coordinates of point D? Start at the origin and move 3 units right, then 4 units down. The coordinates of D are 3, negative 4. Finally, what are the coordinates of point E? From the origin, we don't need to move left or right. We only need to move down 3 units. So the coordinates of point E are 0, -3. In the previous slide, we were given a point and asked to determine the coordinates. In this example, we're going to plot the points if given the coordinates. Let's start by plotting point A. Point A has coordinates -4 and 3. To get to point A, we start at the origin, we move 4 units to the left, and 3 units up. A would be located here. A is in quadrant 2. Point B is 4 and -2. To get to point B, start at the origin, move 4 units to the right, and 2 units down. B would be located here, and it's in quadrant 4. Point C has coordinates -2 and 0. To get to point C, we start at the origin and move 2 units to the left, but we don't need to move up or down. C would be located here. C is not located in either quadrant because it's right on the border between quadrants 2 and 3. Point D has coordinates 0, 2. To get to point D, we start at the origin. We don't need to move right or left, so we just move 2 units up. D would be located here. Once again, D is not in either quadrant because it is directly in between quadrants 1 and 2. Point E has coordinates 4 and 1. To get to point E, we start at the origin and move 4 units right and 1 unit up. E would be located here, and it's in quadrant 1. Finally, point F has coordinates -1, -3. To get to point F, we start at the origin and move 1 unit to the left and 3 units down. F would be located here, and it's in quadrant 3. Please proceed to video 2.